Welcome everyone to this Metstrade Connect Tech Talk on onboard comfort, more specifically on some of the trends driving the comfort sector at the moment, and how we can make the new boat experience a positive one. Joining me on the panel today are Fetchko, the president of Dometic Marine. We have Onger, who is the CCO of boat builder Sirena Marine. And we also have Alessandro Cappiello, who is the CEO of CMC Marine. Welcome, gentlemen. Can I just start off with you, Eric?
Sure.
We talk about a new generation of consumer, new buyers coming into the market. Can you tell me a little bit about, in your experience at Dometic, what this new buyer is after? How does it compare to, say, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's something that we've looked at a lot. And the biggest thing is expectation. You know, back years ago, I remember in another article I had mentioned about how people did not have expectations that a boat would be as comfortable as their car. And even though they paid a lot of money for a boat at that time, now with the younger generation, I don't know if younger is a fair word, but the modern boat buyer, they're looking for all the things they have in a car. They're looking for connectivity, they're looking for comfort, they're looking for ease of use. And in the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, ease of use was more a thing that was accepted, and if they got it, it was great. And and that's why you've seen in the last few years things like joystick steering, things like stabilizers, and air conditioning, and all that typically was not on boats in the past. People are expecting that now, and so I guess the best way to put it is expectations have risen dramatically, not only from ease of use, but really comfort.
Just talking about, Alessandro, about stabilization, because stabilization is one of the hot product areas, has been for the last couple of years now. Can you give me some insight into what you're doing at CMC in terms of embracing this new desire for comfort, not just on the 60, 70 footers that most people would have expected, but now getting smaller and smaller boats with stabilization?
But I fully agree with the view of Eric, okay? Eric's view. I mean, the new generation of owners, or the requirement that we receive from the owners, are basically they are looking for an extreme comfort, okay? If I compare with the past, normally we were faced to owners who grew up with their boat, okay? They start having experience in maybe when they were young, or together with their fathers or their family, and then they were quite familiar with the sea, okay? So for them it was clear that the level of comfort or they can get on a boat was up to a certain limit. Today we are really facing an extreme demand of comfort. Means not only, so you have to cut the roll, first of all, cut the acceleration. Many boats that we are equipping are used for charter, so you don't really know who is coming on board. And the key of success of the charter is that people enjoy their vacation, okay, their trip around. So even the way they are living the boat is completely different if I compare with 10 or 15 years ago. So that's why the demand of stabilizer, which means fins or gyro, whatever, is today really important, and it's definitely a need, okay? So you have to satisfy with something which is emotional more than physical.
Coming back a little bit to what Eric said about expectation, and what you said here, Alessandro, about buyers coming into the market that are new, that haven't been growing up with boats, that it's not a generational thing. It's not, they haven't learned this experience. So they're coming at it with a much more cynically almost, that they expect it to be what they're used to. But do you see the new trends of boat ownership, like boat clubs and fractional ownership, where people they don't own the experience, they're dipping into it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks a year, and they haven't got time, to not be comfortable. Is that the way the market's going?
There is also another issue. The boats are becoming more luxurious, okay, compared to the past. It's a very high level product, let's say, and so when you are facing a luxury, can be a car, or can be a suit, or can be a watch, and especially a boat, okay, the level of demand is very high. I mean, what their expectation is high. I mean, it's not only the comfort on board, but is the how can I say, the decoration, the furniture, the level must be very, very high, okay, and that is increasing the demand. I mean, you don't have only to provide an extremely high product, okay, in terms of stabilization, and I think that for other companies are exactly the same, but you have to keep in mind how they have to enjoy the boat, okay. That is one of the main issues. That is the trend today.
Well, let's bring Ali in here at Sirena Marine. Ali, can you tell me a little bit about your experience of what your customers are asking you at Sirena, and some of the features maybe that you've been bringing on board literally in the last couple of years with the new models?
It's quite actually interesting how expectation actually is one thing, but also people that are, and clients that are actually buying the boats now, they're looking pretty much for everything right now. And they're coming to a point that you're looking for instance, when we talk about the expectation of a client who doesn't have much time actually to spend on board, like a leisure time or anything, but wants to have a very good internet access, for instance, for the work. So they must have the best quality Wi-Fi and everything. That at some point, it's been almost like 10, 12 years that I'm actually in the business. We're even in like 10 years back, we're not expecting that much of a Wi-Fi on board. Now it's more like a house to live in. So basically, people are looking for a certain level of comfort, and how we accommodate it in Sirena, or probably in the industry as well, places, is that we are actually trying to sit down with each and every customer and see exactly what their smallest need is, and try to accommodate that. That to be in the quality of navigation, that to be in connection and not being cut off from the world. Even though some clients, very little now, they're trying to cut themselves out of the world and try to stay away from the daily routine and all this kind of things. There's a majority now that they're trying to still keep up, because if they got cut off, they're not going to be able to enjoy, because back in their mind, they will still have some work to do. So this kind of small things, seems to be small things, but are actually quite important at the end of the day, that they're driving to a decision as well, the client's thoughts.
It's interesting because in the last couple of years, we've seen some big advances being made in the sort of design of boats and the way different areas of the boat are being used. So, for instance, around the stern area, the beach clubs and things on the bigger boats, and the bow areas in the past have just almost been a forgotten area on many bigger boats, and now they're being fully utilized as spaces. And what are how do you see that trend developing? Where are the next sort of hotspots?
Well, maximum usage is definitely, what you're saying is actually absolutely true. Like if you see the trend in the boat design, you're going to see that not many boats around these sizes, like around 60 footers, 50, 60 footers, you wouldn't actually see a bow area where you can actually have a seating area, a little small dining area, and also a sunbathing area. That now people are actually more demanding on every aspect of the boat. Well, this actually comes to a point where, you know, you can actually compare it with a strong car brands as well. In this case, maybe you wanted to come at some point at this comparison, but over here you can see that, for instance, in a car that everybody uses now, you can see that like 10, 15 years ago, seat heating was an extreme luxury for like let's say in the S classes or like in the A8s and Bentleys and everything. Now you can find it in the much more budget cars a seat heating system. So it's a bit like that. So people are looking, for instance, in the boating business, the features that you see in 100, 110 footers, now people start to look at them in a 60-foot, 50-foot boat. Even smaller in time, it will get, I mean, you will see at some point this little balconies that on the side that open. Like, you're going to see them in like 45-feet boats. It is like people, they tend to look at that and they say, wow, okay, I cannot reach a 15, 20 million euro boat, but you have a similar feature, obviously not the same comfort, but a similar feature in my 300,000-400,000 euro boat. So, I mean, the trend is going from up to down in so many levels. I think Alessandro was actually saying that as well concerning the gyro and the stabilization systems.
Talking about those influences, you mentioned the auto sector. Eric, can you tell me a little bit about if there is any influence on the RV sector? I know you're active in that field as well. I mean, do you have any influence on there?
Sure, and you know, they are two similar industries. They're just in, you know, I guess RV is a little more automotive, and marine is still a little more custom. And of course, there's influences, and we try and, you know, you talked about bringing the cost down of making items affordable. So we try and do that from the volume RVs. We try and take that marinized products and put them into the boat. But, you know, I guess a good example of, I think Alessandro succinctly pointed that out about how, you know, the people's expectations. And one example, again, is the amount of electrification on a boat. And, you know, you're seeing electric steering down on 21-foot boats in North America now. Not at a great level, but, you know, there are people that see the value of having their boat drive like a car. And so absolutely, you're seeing the volume of RV kind of influencing marine, where typically marine has been more, it's a high ticket item, and they'll actually in the past have been able to pay more for items, or they see the value in paying more for items, because it's not like your car, it's a little more difficult to operate, shall we say. But you know, again, because of the expectations of the people, it's changing. People want to come up just like they're a young guy comes up, clicks a button, his BMW opens, sometimes starts, does everything. And that's why, you know, one of the innovations we've done is you come up to a boat with the same thing, key fob, hit a button, boom, turns on your battery switches, you step in, turn the ignition and go. So yeah, the automotive RV are influencing marine to a large extent.
I'm interested in this affordability angle, though, because obviously the more kit, the more luxury we put on these boats, it's getting more and more expensive each boat. And then does that price people out of the market? Or I mean, Alessandro, do you think that's an issue, or do you think it's much more a case of people have the money, they will pay for it, and they will want to get maximum usage out of their boat, so it's a good investment? Is that the idea?
What I've learned in those days, in the last year, is that in fact you have it's always difficult to take the technology in other sectors and to bring to the marine industry. Okay, there is no doubt that this transfer exists and this demand exists and will be more and more in the future. There are two aspects that you have to keep in mind. There is, it's not true that they will pay more for more technology, because it's very simple. The demand is very high, okay? And for an owner, what I understood is quite similar to buy a car, to buy a villa, and to buy a boat, okay? I mean, they want to have the maximum for their money. So it's not true that transferring some new technologies will make the boat more expensive, okay? So what we are trying to create with our system is just to add value to the boat. I mean, it's not simply stabilize the system, but to make this stabilizer, this device, or the air conditioning or others, as an added value to the ship, to the boat. Okay, so that's why, because I don't understand. I don't see that you can ask more money for a better product today. I mean, the standard they are used to have is so high that you have to satisfy the demand. Even if the boat is not a luxury car or a villa, it's more complicated than this, okay? You have to face with it. I mean, you can transfer technology, you have to follow the trend, but doesn't mean that your system will be more expensive.
It's interesting because it's all very good for our industry that we have to strive to add more convenience and luxury and functionality on board boats, make it more comfortable on board boats. But as you say, that we can't keep putting up the cost of a boat because that's counterproductive. But does that put more pressure on equipment suppliers like yourselves and boat builders like you, Ali? Is that a continual push? Is that sustainable going forward?
It is, yeah, it is actually, as I said, it is actually creating some sort of a pressure. That's true. But on the other hand, bear in mind that when something comes up in terms of novelty, in terms of new feature, obviously in every market, in everything, it's actually expensive at the beginning, and it's actually quite costly to put it. But then in time, with all this technology and all this, I mean, it comes to a point that it becomes a must. Mm-hmm. So I think, yes, it is going to be sustainable. I mean, as long as you don't decide to cover your boat in gold, which, I mean, the cost is increasing every day of gold. But I mean, in terms of technology, I think it is going to be sustainable. Yes, I don't think that it's going to be extremely difficult. I mean, things are changing in terms of value of the product and making of that product, of that technology. I'm pretty sure that, I mean, both of you, come on, Dometic, and we're talking about CMC, both of you, it is not the same cost 10 years ago of the thing that you're still selling today. Obviously, the quality and the technology is getting better and everything. Yes, but you are doing your best to keep the cost down so that people can benefit from them. And then there's another product that comes, another product. So it's, I mean, an iPhone, for instance, today. I was actually quite shocked when I saw the new iPhone 12. I don't know if you've seen it, guys. It's just quite, they're not even giving you anymore the charging plug and the earphones. So what I mean is, yes, the cost of the thing is going up, the phone, for instance. However, there are some changes that you can make commercially or technologically that is going to keep keep the industry in the same level and actually go up and keep on being sustainable? I think yes, it will be.
Do you find, and this one to Eric, do you find, are you closer to your customers now? Do you need to be closer to them to understand? I mean, you've all talked about the user experience and understanding how they use the boats. Are you doing things differently at Dometic now than you were, say, 5 years ago?
To be honest with you, we've always had a close relationship with our customers. You know, we implemented QFD years ago, voice of the customer, and so I would say, of course, we're very close to them. But at the end of the day, the reason we're close to them is they have problems. They have problems, cost problems. They have performance problems. They have comfort problems, and we're there to solve their problems. And that's what keeps us close to the customers. And if you know, to the point of Ali there, his comment about the you know, the prices and is it sustainable? You have to remember the marine. He makes a very good point, and as technology changes, it does get cheaper. But there's two things in the marine industry you have to remember. One is automotive is the leader, and his nice analogy about the electric heats, right, even on a compact car now, on the seats. They have one thing that the marine industry doesn't have, and that's huge volumes, you know, millions of cars a year. So that allows technology to come down. The second issue that makes it a little bit tougher is the fact that the marine industry is the toughest environment to make something last, particularly electronic and mechanical, because of the salt air, salt water. So, you know, anyone who continues to innovate and grow and utilize things from the high volume markets by marinizing them properly, yes, that's how we're going to continue to win and keep the customers happy. But it's not going to happen by just because of volume. We have to really dig in and develop products that are going to utilize some of the high volume technology.
Thank you, Eric. Can you give me some insight then? I just want to draw to a conclusion, looking at 2021, if you've got any suggestions of where the sort of hot areas are going to be in terms of new product to make things more comfortable on board. Eric, have you got any thoughts on that?
Sure, and again, it comes back to what I mentioned earlier, and that's the connected boat, and that's you'll see our air conditioning now. We have Wi-Fi screens. You can be in one room. You can change the temperature in another room. That's the expectation of the builder, or sorry, of the owner, the buyer. And at the end of the day, if we don't give it to them, you know, it's not going to be good for boating. So of course we're looking at things like that, and we are implementing things like that. So and you can see it around all the engine manufacturers, everyone. Electrification, the connected boat is a big thing going forward, and you're going to see a lot in 2021. And you know, it's just like in the early days. People want a good experience, and that's why joystick steering has become so popular. And but the connected boat, I believe, you're going to see some big splashes in 2021, in my opinion.
Interesting, thank you. Alessandro, what about CMC and stabilization?
About the stabilization, I mean, there are another concept that another aspect that we must keep in mind. And as Eric was saying before, there are some differences in this market. In our market, the service, the after-sales service, or the service to the customer, or the partnership with the customer is extremely important. Okay. Compared to the automotive industry, where they are going faster and they have volumes that we don't have, we have to keep in mind also that our production is limited. I mean, so you can innovate, and you have to, but you must keep in mind that you cannot go too fast. Okay, first of all. Another aspect that you have to keep in mind is the maintenance. And maintenance of our product is extremely important. So the cost must be reduced as much as possible, and the system must be as simple as possible, okay? And you have to guarantee the continuity of your product, because you don't change your boat as you change your car, okay? The lifetime of a boat is about 20 years till today. I mean, so it's not something that in 7 years, the lifetime of a car is maybe 5-7 years, no more, okay? So we are not at that level. So of course, those are affecting the cost of the equipment.
Yeah, very interesting.
You cannot focus only on your product itself, okay? You have to understand that this product must communicate with the other devices on board.
So as we're getting more comfort on board, that obviously brings more complexity, and that obviously impacts the key areas of service and maintenance, and how we keeping the boater experience a positive one is critical. That service and maintenance is key, isn't it? Ali, can we just conclude with you, if you don't mind? Can you tell me a little bit about what Sirena are doing and where you think the hot spots are going to be in terms of onboard comfort?
As Alessandro said, was actually quite impressive. Yes, it's not only about one product, but a combination of all the products, of all the components that we as Sirena or as a boat builder, we actually put as well. So in our case, it's actually a bit of mix of everything that we said, because we are the end user, sort of, because we need to give the after sales, we need to provide the after sales for that, we need to provide, well, we need to talk to the client directly with that, and so on and so forth. So well, 2021, we are going to, well, what we're trying to do actually is, what we're going to we're going to have a surprise in Cannes, hopefully. Well, I'm not going to tell you more. So, if that, of course, takes place, that's another issue. But so until then, we're trying to increase the level of technology, of course, that related with comfort. But we need to be also careful in not going too fast, as Alessandro said, without going too fast, because we don't want to end up having a supersonic, amazing, and everything boat that cannot leave the marina. So it's best to we'll go slowly but surely, and we'll come to a point that we're going to allocate all the possible comfort things that we can actually find in the market. So let's wait and see.
On that interesting note, thank you, Ali, Onger at Sirena Marine,
Thank you
at Dometic, and obviously Alessandro Cappiello at CMC Marine. Thank you, gentlemen.